Alrighty, let's go live. Coming to you live from the state border, Queensland-New South Wales border. And I'm up in quite an elevated spot here, and I'm going to go to the front camera so I can show you what I'm looking at. I'm looking there at northern New South Wales, Coolangatta, the southern end of the Gold Coast basically, looking there. And this is the border fence that I'm on here at the moment. And as I move around, I'm actually looking north up the Gold Coast that way, and then as I move around, there's a house right up elevated there, and I'm looking along the border fence here, and I'm going to go right around in a circle again so we can go back to southern New South Wales there. So let's go back to this camera. All right, and you can join me on a walk. I've walked nearly 4 kilometres this morning, and this is another Saturday morning where I decided to walk the border fence, and this time I'm further west than I was last Saturday. And in fact, I'm in a section that I haven't been in for, well, probably the 1970s was actually the last time I came here, so that's how long ago it was. It's very, very elevated, just magnificent views. I've taken some great photos of the coast, and which I'll be uploading later. I've got a fairly busy day, but I'll get them uploaded at some stage. So I'm now walking, heading back east. I've walked west as far as I could go to where I met the road, and then turned around, came back. So it's been very, very pleasant this morning. I've actually been accompanied by about a dozen kangaroos, some magnificent large kangaroos that were hopping along. Tried to get close-up photos, but you know, they sort of disappeared as soon as I get close to them, but I got some photos. Anyway, that's magnificent. Look at this. Wow. Just going to go to the other camera and just show you what I'm looking at here. This is where I'm walking. So you see I'm actually looking east, and I'm looking directly, what am I looking at? Directly ahead of me is actually Currumbin Beach right over there. And yeah, you can see how elevated I am. Looking south there, and looking north. I'm just going past. There are some acreage properties here right up against the border fence, and looking north up the coast there. So really is quite magnificent. So thank you everyone that's tuning in this morning. Now this morning's topic is when your vegan intention is to do no harm, you look for solutions rather than excuses. And this follows on from an interesting conversation I had on one of the vegan forums. I think it might have been yesterday, and it was yesterday actually. Should have brought my sunglasses. When I started this, it was like an hour and a half ago. It was very cloudy, just on the edge of rain, and it's warmed up. And anyway, so on topic here. So I had an interesting discussion yesterday where it was on a forum talking about vegan dogs, basically. Let me just turn that sound off so that notifications don't give us a problem. Sound is there, right. Okay, so we're talking about vegan dogs yesterday. And, you know, there was the usual different opinions of people. And it's interesting, these opinions, when I observe them, are very, very similar to the opinions of when we speak to somebody that's defending their stance to eat meat. Now, when I hear these opinions of people, and when they're vegan, and when the intention of being vegan is to do no harm, is to end exploitation and animal use, and to look for ways to do it, when I hear people coming up with excuses rather than looking for solutions, I'm very disappointed when I hear that. And I think rightly so, because we should know better. As vegans, we should know better, and we should be looking for ways to eliminate harm to other living beings. So this becomes especially, I actually found myself getting angry in a discussion yesterday because one person was being presented with evidence that shows, lots of different forms of evidence, that shows that dogs can be vegan, from personal stories through to, you know, scientific research. and this person was basically just coming back with the same sort of excuses I expect from somebody that who isn't interested in animal rights. The same sort of excuses of, oh no, you do what you want to do, but it's not healthy for them and all the rest. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a second. We've got records of the world's oldest dogs, and it was a world record, only surpassed in recent time, 27 years being on a plant-based diet, and there's a few records of that. You've got so many thousands of cases of people that are that have, including myself, that have had vegan dogs very successfully for many years, and they're extremely healthy, and the vets report that the dogs are in great health, keep doing what you're doing, sort of thing. In my case, I had 2 fox terriers. The eldest lived to 18, both vegan. When I transitioned them to a vegan diet, the youngest one was about 6 months, and the oldest one was around 4 years at that stage. So this was when I met my partner, and she was feeding them meat, and of course I just put them on to eating what I was eating. Very, very simple. And this is decades ago, when I don't even know if vegan dog food had been invented. I'd never heard of it. I didn't, I wasn't aware of such a thing. I never thought to think about such a thing. But what did I do? I looked for a way of eliminating cruelty. If you know anything about the pet food industry, you would be going out of your way to not be supporting this industry of death, in the same way that we don't support the industries of death when it comes to the mainstream meat and dairy industries. So in my case, I had, my eldest dog lived to 18 years. He was, both of them actually, him and her, they were both full of energy. They were vibrant. They were super energetic. They were always, on the go, sort of thing. So that was my personal example. And if it hadn't been for that, maybe I might be a bit dubious. But it's not hard for me or anyone else to get on to Google, to get on, if your intention is to do no harm, and in this particular case, when we're talking about finding cruelty-free ways to look after our domestic animals, if the intention is to do no harm, or to eliminate the harm as much as possible, then we start doing some research. We start looking for other people that are doing the same thing. We start looking for studies that have been done into it, and we stop making excuses, basically. We just look for ways to do no harm. So in the case of dogs, that is actually relatively easy. There's people been doing it for ages and ages and decades and decades and decades, so that is not rocket science. In the case of, I have a cat now that's a vegan cat, that took a bit more research, but again, I've had her checked by a vet, I've done the research, I've been on the different forums, I've found out the information that I wasn't aware of earlier that I needed to know, which means the 11 essential amino acids that cats require as opposed to the 9 that dogs and humans require, the extra beta-arginine and taurine. So I'm aware of that, and that is in a nutritionally balanced vegan cat food. So I've researched that. I've researched the fact that you need to monitor in cats their pH level. So I've had that checked. I also have special kitty litter that monitors it. So these are things that we can do when our intention is to do no harm, to eliminate harm as much as possible. So we really need to take a good hard look at ourselves when we come up with excuses rather than looking for solutions. We need to look at why are we coming up with excuses, and where are we really at with our vegan journey if we're coming up with excuses, because we're really not, growing in an awareness sort of way if we're just saying, oh well, this can't be done, and cats are obligate carnivores and things like that. In the case of cats, which I've spoken about before, that's exactly right. They are obligate carnivores. And when I did the research, I found out it's the nutrients they need, not the ingredients. So they need the 11 essential amino acids, and they need this to be also, you need to have healthy oils and things like that. So without going into the scientific details, I actually found a lot of information. I found a vet, UK-based vet, who has done studies into this and has discovered what is, healthy for them. And, so the information is there if our intention is right. So that was one thing that came up. And then another thing that came up during the week as well was also in relation to places using excuses. When I say places, I'm talking about restaurants, cafes, using excuses to justify the continued use of dairy if they're a vegetarian place. And, well, that was mainly where it was coming up. And this, despite the fact that here on the Gold Coast alone, in the last few years, we've had 4 places that were previously vegetarian go fully vegan because they decided to do no harm anymore. They decided to put ethics above profit, and they found a way to do it. I loved it when Raw Authentic did it because they put a sign, actually put a sign there that says, we no longer support the dairy industry, and it was really well worded, and I was like, this is great. I loved it when Govindas in Surface eliminated dairy, being the first Govindas in the world to do it. See, it's like, okay, take a stand, get out there and, be an original. I mean, when I went vegan 38 years ago, I didn't know any others around, so, so there was those cases, and then of course there was Saraba did it also at Burleigh, and Sozo at Tweed Heads. That's 4 I can think of that just decided, no, we're no longer going to support the dairy industry. So the other very, very encouraging thing was in the last few weeks, I've now been contacted by 4 different people who are setting up fully vegan restaurants in different parts of Australia. Now, I've spoken to some of them in person, I've spoken to some of them online, and what was really, really encouraging was that 2 of them, when they contacted me, actually told me that they had been very, very interested in the discussions that I'd had about supporting. I just found my note that it dropped out of my pocket on the track on the way along, and as I'm walking back, there it is sitting on the track. I'm the only person that has walked along here this morning. Probably I haven't passed anyone. So 2 of these people told me they were incredibly encouraged by the live streams and the information I'd shared about fully vegan places, and that this had actually been a factor in inspiring them to set up their own fully vegan restaurants. One of them is opening, should be probably this week, I think, actually. Another one is opening next month, September, and the other 2 are currently sorting out the details with theirs, and hopefully will be open in a few months' time. So when I got these messages from these people and I spoke to them, it sort of made me aware of the impact that we have on people that sometimes we're not even aware of. One person who contacted me, a lady who contacted me yesterday, she said, I wrote this message 6 to 7 weeks ago. She said, I'm not going to give details away, she said, but 6 to 7 weeks ago I wrote this message to you, but I never sent it, sort of thing. And she showed me what she wrote, and it was in relation to her taking the plunge to set up a fully vegan restaurant, put in a lot of capital into it, a lot of blood, sweat and tears, and I was really, really amazed. I thought that was fantastic, that I was able to play a little part in inspiring her to look for ways to do no harm. That is our bottom line. That is the vegan credo. Do no harm. So a couple of weeks ago, a place in Adelaide opened called Crux, fully vegan. On the weekends, they've been selling out of food. So again, fully vegan. What I'm saying, why I'm saying this is, when our intention is to do no harm, we find ways to do it. We look for ways to do it. We do the best we can. We don't come up with excuses. We don't say, so-and-so requires us to have dairy, or some other excuse. we just go, no, our ethics are above our profit, and we stand by and we support the animals. I love it when I hear from people that do that, and I thoroughly encourage that as our way of being vegan. Look at that track behind me there, disappearing up the hill that I've walked down. And let me just go to the other camera, sort of show you. I'm actually looking, you probably won't see it very well on this live stream, Surfers Paradise to the north there. Now I've started to come down a little bit lower on the track. Still got a bit of walking to go, and I've got to keep moving because I've got to be places. So thank you for joining me for this live stream. I hope you've got something from it, and I look forward to live streaming with you again soon. So live vegan and save lives, and remember the vegan credo: do no harm. Look for the solutions, not the excuses. Have a great day, folks. Ahimsa.